Here's a foolproof hack to make a delicious classic meatloaf nice and simple. Okay, this recipe couldn't get any easier, everybody. We're just going to use some nice simple ground beef. I like to use 85/15 because I really don't want it to shrink too much, but that's just regular old ground beef. We're going to use a box of Stovetop stuffing here. This is seasoned just right. You're not going to have to add any herbs or anything else. It takes all the guesswork out of everything. You've got a turkey flavor and a chicken flavor. You can use that if you like, but I really don't want this to taste like a bird, really. So we're going to use a savory herb kind. Other than that, you're going to put a few beaten eggs in there and a packet of Lipton onion soup. So this is super easy. The first thing you're going to do here is take your fist and we're going to almost kind of make a bowl inside of a bowl with this ground beef. There's a method for my madness, party people. Great thing about meatloaf is it's super versatile. So you can put whatever you want to in here, any type of vegetables you like. You can get crazy with the sauce and the seasonings. But this right here is going to be a really simple, easy hack that just gets you through the basics. Just put that stovetop stuffing right in your meat bowl. So then we'll pour a little milk right on top of that stuffing. All right, I don't have a measurement or anything. We just want to make sure these breadcrumbs have a chance to soak up some of that milk. And maybe just a little bit more. All in all, I'd say I put in less than a cup there, everybody. And then go ahead and do your eggs on top too. If it spills out over the side, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. It's going to get mixed in. So let's give that milk and those eggs a chance to soak in. We'll set this aside and get our vegetables chopped up. Again, I keep saying that meatloaf's pretty versatile, so use whatever you like, everybody. I'm using about half of a white onion, a small carrot, and a small stalk of celery. I'm going to use a little bit of this minced garlic. I'd rather use that instead of the fresh garlic just because it hydrates so nicely and it's a lot more subtle. All right, I've got 3 pounds of ground beef here. I use about an egg for every pound. That's the general rule of thumb. And of course, we got that box of Stovetop. And the last missing ingredient, everybody, is a packet of Lipton onion soup. This stuff is so versatile. And all that dehydrated onion in there is going to pull the same trick as that garlic and just rehydrate so nicely. Now we'll go ahead and mix this in. I recommend dicing up your veggies pretty small. It'll give those a chance to cook more, and that'll really help to develop your flavor better. You can see we got some pretty good sized croutons. Got to just crush those up between your fingers a little bit as you go. Let's get this put into our casserole dish. And we're just going to kind of mimic the shape of that casserole dish. But we don't want it to touch the sides. We don't want that all up on the sides. We want those sides to, pick up some crust. Get that nice and tight in there. Make sure you don't have any big old cracks in there to start out, everybody, because those will just get worse as it cooks. So you want it to be pretty smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven at 350. I'm gonna put the sauce on when it gets to about 145, and then at 165, it'll be done. So to be honest, the ketchup sauce really isn't that much different than a quick barbecue sauce. We're gonna start off with somewhere between half a cup and a cup of ketchup. So we'll call it 3/4 cup. Do a little squeeze of mustard. That'll add some tanginess, a little bit of brightness. We'll add a sprinkle of Worcestershire sauce. A dash of Tabasco. You're gonna wanna do a little black pepper. Let's get some of that in there. And you're gonna wanna add some sort of a salt. I like to use soy sauce. It mixes in perfectly. Just do a sprinkle. We're gonna add in a couple generous spoonfuls of brown sugar. Now keep in mind, we're still gonna add some tomato paste. All right, so this should be a little concentrated than what you actually want it to taste like. All right, before I cook this into that tomato paste, I'm just gonna brush a little bit as is right onto that meatloaf. Right at the beginning here, just to kind of set up that flavor. Okay, so finishing up this ketchup sauce isn't too terribly difficult at all. Really all we're doing with this pan here is we're just gonna heat up this tomato paste a little bit just to take some of that raw canned flavor off of it before it goes on to the meatloaf. I always like to coat my pan with just a little bit of olive oil there. We're gonna add just tiniest pat of butter. Let these get good and happy. All right, once your butter's melted, just a nice spoonful of that tomato paste. I say it all the time, don't use a plastic spatula for this. Use wood or metal. We're just gonna cook off this tomato paste a little bit here. This will make your whole sauce come together a little bit easier. And you really don't have to do this tomato paste portion if you want. You could just add that sauce the way it is and it'd be fine. But at that point, it's more of a glaze. By adding this tomato paste, it's gonna give that sauce a little bit of structure and kind of, you know, give it that classic consistency. So at this point, really all we're doing is heating up this tomato paste and cooking off some of that raw canned flavor. That'll make all the difference before it actually goes onto your meatloaf there. This isn't a necessary step. You could put that sauce on the way it already is. It'd be more of a glaze at that point. But this tomato paste is really gonna add a little bit of structure to that sauce and, you know, kind of give it that classic consistency like your grandma used to make it. Everybody, you should smell when that tomato paste is nice and cooked. You'll get that caramely sort of a fragrance. And then we'll just add on in that mixture. And we're just gonna stir that up until that's all the way incorporated, everybody. And you can see that's a little stiffer sauce than it was before we did that tomato paste. So that's gonna do a real good job sticking on top of that meatloaf. We're gonna go ahead and turn the heat down here because again, we're not trying to, you know, caramelize this or cook it too much or anything. We just wanted to get all those textures and flavors all happy together and well acquainted. I'm gonna put this on top of that meatloaf once it hits an internal of about 145, and then it'll be done when it hits 165. All right, so this meatloaf is ready to go ahead and have the sauce put on. As you can see, it is coming along quite nicely. A little bit of oil in that pan. I'm gonna go ahead and drain that off before I put the sauce on. Yeah, should have probably made a little bit more sauce. I'm gonna crank that heat up to 400, just so that it really can set well. All right, let's slice into this meatloaf and see how it looks. Smells delicious. Ooh. Ah, man, this looks really good. All right, let's taste it, everybody. Oh, it looks really nice. I really like the way this particular sauce set on here. Again, feel free to change this up however you like. But look at that right there. Perfectly cooked, nice and hot and steamy. Let's see. This is Americana in its finest. A true classic. If you like meatloaf, everybody, you really don't need any adjustments to this. Do it just the way I showed you and it's going to come out perfect. But feel free to, you know, spice it up any way you like, everyone. Till next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. You don't want to miss anything spicy. But if there's any key ingredients that you think I may have missed that your mom always put in there, let me know in the comments.